Welcome back to my garage, everyone. Today we're going to be building this welding table. This is my 3-foot by 5-foot Merlin's fabrication table. Comes in a tab and slot kit, and you just weld it together yourself. These tables are awesome because any of these little 5/8 holes you can put special clamps in, so you can clamp literally anywhere on the table if there's one of those holes. You can do it on the front. They're very modular, so like this wing, I just bolted the wing straight to the table. It's nice and flush. You can buy different attachments, like a 90-degree upright. You can bolt that to the table if you're doing like a special jig. You can use little stopper pins, so you can slide your metal straight to stopper pins, and it'll be completely, a 90. Or you could set it at a 45 if you wanted. If you wanted to put 2 pins here, a couple pins here, it's 45. So that makes it super nice and easy when you're trying to mock stuff up and get stuff welded, and you can clamp stuff right to your table. This is a perfectly flat surface, so if everything is clamped to it and you're welding it out, it's gonna stay flat, stay square, and not be all out of true. So, and then while we're here, I think it's worth mentioning the Fireball Tools Square. Buy one. That's all I have to say about that. All right, let's get to it. Let's build this thing. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is take your table sheet, find out which way it bows, because usually it'll bow one way or the other. And then you're gonna take whatever way the crest is, like let's say it crests like this kinda, a little bit of a bend. You're gonna wanna put that bend facing downwards. We're gonna build this whole table upside down. So I've already done that. This sheet is slightly bowed this way. So that bow is gonna go down. Next thing we're gonna do is find all of our slats and corner pieces and kind of pop them in. This is a tab and slot design. So this is like a little cross member piece. But see all these tabs? Everything should go together like a big puzzle piece. You can identify what pieces are supports and what are edge pieces by the holes. Anything you would clamp to or fixture to is gonna be an outside edge, or the top, obviously. If it doesn't have holes, it's gonna be like support pieces. So these are our cross members. Going the short way, you put those ones in first. They're all laser cut, so they should snap right in like a big Lego or something. So when you're putting these things together, some of these will have little notches cut out of them. Really can't mess it up with these middle ones, because really there's only 2 middle ones and they're both on each end. But if you had, like, let's say a bigger table and there was more than just 2 of these long ones, you're gonna wanna make sure these notched ones are furthest out to the corners. And same goes with these middle ones. So you'll see these 2 don't have any notches out of them, but the end ones are the ones that you want the notches out of them, and you'll see why here in a second. Make sure you catch that before you start welding things together, because if these notched ones are over in the middle, you're gonna have a big problem when it comes time to put the corner pieces on in the legs. So make sure you don't mess that up. So I got all these things cranked down, and how you check to see if it's flat enough or if there's no obstructions is, let's pretend this is a flashlight. You shine it on that side, you look for this side to see if any light's coming through, and this thing's sucked down pretty tight. I don't think that there is anything getting through there, so. All right, guys, if you're like me and are under clamped and don't have enough clamps for the entire thing, what I'm doing is clamping them, then shooting a little quick tack on those. I know it's not gonna hold everything, but it should keep it from pulling back once I move these clamps around. So I did one right here, and I did one on this side, just to kind of keep these pieces where they need to be and not to pull away from these. For now, I'm just putting little tacks in there and then moving my clamps around until I get this outside perimeter tack. The top is not tacked to anything. And then what you're supposed to do is put these things all together. Then once it's all clamped, go through, tack the outside, and then tack the top, and then get it all together. We'll kind of go through it as we go. All right, so I got this side tacked up and this side tacked up. If you're gonna do this, I would recommend starting on the insides and then working your way out, because these corners, as you can see, get a little wonky. So once these ones are really solid, you can get a clamp on these and pull them in nice and tight. So that's what I'm doing here. I did the other 2 corners already, and they turned out great. So anyway, I'm gonna do these ones real fast. All right, guys, and these are fusion welds, so I'm not using any filler at the moment. When I go back and weld this whole thing out, I'll use the filler, but right now it's mostly just a tack, just a small tack just to hold everything in place while we're working. So here we go. What I'm trying to do is get on the pedal, get the puddle fused real quick or the metal fused, and then get out. You don't want to be pushing a bunch of heat into this thing, or else it's going to start twisting and doing some stupid stuff. So those 2, you can see, pop the clamps off. They're nice and holding straight, holding where they're supposed to be. Let's check this side. That looks good. Let's do a little quick fusion here. Pedal down, boom, done. So how quick you need to do it. All right, guys, got a little clamp on that corner, and as you can see, that thing pulled together so tight. I mean, that thing is amazing and just perfect. And I was kind of curious, just before we get too deep into this, you want to make sure it's nice and square. But I just wanted to check. I got out my little framing square here and checked, and guys, it is dead nuts. I mean, you could not get anything more square than that. That's impressive. So let's get this guy tacked up real fast. All right, so once you kind of get the outside all tacked up, you're gonna want to take your corner plates, and they'll always have like one little corner notched off. That's your outside corner, so make sure that's on the outside. I'm gonna need to actually flip these the other way. So if you put your clamps that way, then this thing will just kind of slide into that corner, and they should just drop right in. Sometimes you might need to like tap them a little bit to make them seat. But then, yeah, then we're gonna tack these guys up on all 4 corners. So let's do that now. And then these guys are for the legs. So when you build the leg assembly to this thing, then you got a 3-inch square tube. They get bolted in right there. You can access the bolts or whatever from the backside. All right, guys, out here at the steel yard with my stepson Liam. We're picking up some steel, so let's get it cut. There, how about that? All right, guys, we're back in the shop. I went to Coyote Steel and got all my legs, measured and cut out. So these are 24 1/4. And the reason I came up with that is because after, the measurement of these and this, it'll be about 34 inches, which I thought was gonna be a good table height for me to work at. These cross pieces right here are 21 inches. These ones are 45 inches. This isn't how I'm gonna have it set up, but I wanted to make sure that the spacing on all of this stuff is accurate and good, and it's right on the money. So what I'm gonna end up doing is probably, well, these ones are as they are, but this thing is gonna basically be upside down, but I'm using these holes as a jig. So essentially this piece will be right here, but with a, what was that, 1/4 inch space down, like that. And then these ones, I'm gonna actually bring them in a little ways. That way, no matter what side I'm working on the table, I'm not gonna be bumping into them because these will be essentially like right here. So on the feet. So I don't wanna be bumping into them. The reason I'm doing 2 instead of 1 would be structurally just fine, but 2 allows me to put a shelf or something down there. I could set welders down there. I could put clamps down there or tools or, you know, spare steel or whatever. It just makes it a little bit more usable. You know, I probably could leave it like this, but I mean, I don't know. If I'm rolling my chair in to the table, I really just don't want it to be like bumping into this with my feet and all that. So I'm just gonna bring it in maybe 3 inches on either side. Just maybe I'll use one of these as a spacer to essentially just start it right here and start it right here. That would give me, I think, plenty of room. So, all right. Let's clean up these pieces with just a flap disc around the edges we're gonna be welding, and let's start tacking things together. All right, guys, so I got these things all cleaned up. You want it just bright metal like that, so you're not, you know, trying to weld through any mill scale. I'm using a 80 grit flat disc sander. It seems to work fine for me. So let's tack this thing up.
All right, let's double check that. We got A tack on there. Perfect. So you don't want to just weld that seam out, just gonna start pulling. So you want to just put tacks on all the corners and then get going.
All right, so you can see each corner has a tack. We're gonna repeat the process on this side. You can see everything's pretty, sorry, get my finger out of there. It's pretty dang square. Maybe a little tiny little smidge off. I could pull that in a little bit. All right, let's get this side tacked. All right, guys, so what I did is get the tacks on all the corners. You can't see it, but there's one actually under this side. And then got those corners tacked. And what I did is I took it and I flipped it and then put the legs back in these holes. That way everything is jigged the exact same. So the top is exactly the same as the bottom. I made sure everything is square as I was doing this. So everything is tacked in place. Let's get her welded out, and then I'll put those middle braces in. All right, so I actually briefly ran out of welding gas there for a minute, ran to the store, came back. Started welding these things out. There's some of the welds. All right, guys, so here's some of the welds, getting this thing welded together. We're gonna do the long supports now. All right, guys, so got pretty much the legs all welded up. I didn't film a lot of that just because it's time consuming. You guys don't need to see me weld everything, but basically what I did is I just welded one of these guys, 2 of these. I set them inset just from the inside of these. That way I have a little bit more foot room if I wanna, you know, slide my chair in, but also big enough surface here that I can set a considerable amount of stuff on if I make it into a shelf. I still gotta weld this one out. Welded some of these already. I think I did that one and that one. I got a little bit more to do on that one. Come back, start welding up some of these. So I need to kind of go through each one. Try and skip around though, because you don't want to be welding a whole bunch of heat into one side and it'll twist and warp and whatever. So do one here and then, you know, one here and then one there, and you can just work your way around the table, you know, once or twice really, and you get all these. Then it's time to flip it. So I'm gonna weld all these out now. I'm not gonna film it though. I'm just gonna do it and then we'll get to the fun stuff. So let's do it. All right, so I got all these side pieces welded, got the legs welded up, got everything welded together. Now we're gonna do the feet for this thing. This is how I do the wheels. So I basically just make a little plate, and then I just tack weld these guys in the holes. You know, all the load is going downwards, so there's not gonna be any real side loads or anything on this. So these things hold just fine. I've done this multiple times on other little carts and stuff. This is just some scrap 3/8 that I had lying around. So that's what I'm using for the feet. Gonna get those things welded on real quick, and then it's about ready time to flip this thing over. All right, guys, that concludes the video. I kind of ran out of battery on my phone, so I just finished this thing up. Flip the table over by myself. If you aren't part Sasquatch like me, you may want to get a buddy or two to help you with it. If you guys have any questions about it, just leave it in the comments. Please like, subscribe if you like these videos. All right, thanks.